It's some, I mean, compared to that motorcycle.
All right, it is now 6:30. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Oh, my arms aren't that long. All right. We are currently missing Commissioner Blasey, but he is on his way. And have we done a tech check?
I don't have anyone online, so I won't get any feedback, but it looks like we're on and recording and everything's in order.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, do we have any additions, deletions, or corrections to today's agenda?
I do not, commissioners.
I do not.
Okay. Nothing heard. Do we have a motion to accept the agenda?
I move we accept the agenda.
A second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. All right. The consent agenda from last month. Does anyone have any questions or corrections to last month's meeting minutes? Swear I can speak. I was getting status updates of, hey, how far along is he on the road? You're okay. Nothing heard? Rocco, do you have any corrections to last month's meeting minutes? Okay, do we have a motion to accept the agenda from last month? Or the notes from last month?
A second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carried. Moving on to the next topic. Public input. It is going to be 3 minutes per speaker. When you come up, please push the button so you see the blue light up at the podium. State your name and address for the record. And this is your chance.
So first, thank you, commissioners, mayor, town clerk, and citizens of the community. My name is Eli. I'm a licensed professional counselor in Woodland Park. I've been living there. Varney, V as in Victor, A-R-N-E-Y. So been living in Woodland Park for about 5 years. I've been a licensed professional counselor for about 8 years. Background, just so you're aware, 20 years in the military. I have 2 sons and my wife, and we love living in this area. So what I hope to cover here today is just basically discuss. Are we pulling those up? Oh, the slides.
Well,
Oh, I
public
apologize.
comments.
Oh, I'm so sorry. So yeah, I thought I was later on, but I could do.
Okay. We'll have you do that later then, so it's not limited to just 3 minutes.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I misunderstood that.
That was on me. Okay, anybody else for public input? My apologies, Eli. Okay. Okay, so he's going to be speaking during 6A? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, understood. I guess I should have asked for clarification on that. All right, let's move on to reports. Commissioners, first of all, I want to say I apologize that I missed last meeting. I did get a chance to review the video or the recording, and y'all did amazing with all of the information you were able to find for your different pieces. So thank you so much. I did catch up on it, and I'm sorry I missed your actual presentations. Thank you all. Do we have any reports from the commissioners right now?
Only our homework. I mean, we could discuss that now, or is that
Which piece?
okay, that's later. Okay.
Oh,
I did my
explain that
homework.
up. You get a gold star. All right, staff, do we have any reports?
All right. So only two reports really quickly. Town planner has resigned. I am going to be working with Todd throughout the remainder of the year for this position. I'm not going to be posting it until we create the budget. The reason for that is because there's only 10 grand budgeted for that position. I don't believe that's enough to hire a town planner. So once we take a look at this budget this coming year, we'll then send out RFPs looking for a new town planner.
So what time frame are we looking for? Just remind me when the budget is supposed to be posted?
The budget we'll start budget talks around July or August. And no later than, I think it's around December 15th, does the budget have to be approved around then. So
We're looking at December or January for that job posting.
that's correct.
Okay.
Now I can put that out, but again, 10,000 is not much for someone to really take a bite. Next one, all right. So if you notice on your agendas, I took this off actually just the other day. And I also apologize for not getting agendas out on time. They're a little late. I noticed that pretty early on. So we're going to start getting these agendas out to you guys a week in advance.
That would be wonderful.
We're practicing that right now with the board, and that's been pretty successful. So we're going to move that over to the planning commission as well. The roles and responsibilities, I talked to you guys last month. If you guys would like to set up a workshop for that, we can. What I could do is email you, or we could set that date now. So what would you like?
Why don't you email me your available dates and I'll reach out to our group and.
So glad you guys said that because I don't have my calendar on me. All right.
Most
Thank you.
people don't. So yeah, that would be best.
All right. That's it. Thank you.
Before you leave, could I ask a question, please?
Absolutely.
So since we don't have a planner, who's
Yep.
going to be filling in the meantime? You didn't confirm that.
It'll be Todd. It'll be Todd in the meantime. This will be voluntarily. He will not be getting paid.
Okay, so no baseline?
Correct.
I cut baseline. They won't even be at these meetings anymore. And we have a checklist essentially of what everybody needs. And Todd, if you'd like to speak on that some more, you can when they come in. So it's a really quick process. We spent too much money on them, and they're out of the picture.
We're developing what I call compliance checklist, because what we do in the world of land use is very similar to what we did in aircraft certification. And it's fairly simple. You'll see the first attempt at it, basically. You're meeting on the 22nd with that project that's already publicly posted. So yeah, hoping that we can get some good compliance checklists developed that'll ease whoever comes into the position, and hopefully it'll ease them into it. And because right now what it's got pretty much every code in section 12 listed, every section. And there's a thing where, is it applicable? And then does it comply? And then with a column for substantiation. And it can be filled out fairly quickly.
Thank you. All right. Moving on to business. This is going to be covering ordinance 2025-04, natural medicine establishments. Staff, did you have anything you wanted to discuss before we ask Eli to come back up?
Right. So Prop 122, you guys can't say yes or no on the zoning. So we have to find a space for it. A lot of municipalities, what they're doing with this is setting restrictions around schools or churches. Well, we have a school, it's way down the road outside of town bounds. We have a church, but that's right in the center of town. I would shy away from trying to make the zoning too restrictive. So the church that's right in the center of town, primarily where your commercial hub will be, if you put in a restriction that says, can't be within I don't know, 1,000 or whatever that number is, how much distance that is. I would just, kind of shy away from that. You don't want to make the zoning too restrictive. So that is all I have to say to prepare you guys for that. So thank you.
Did you have anything? Or Mayor?
I don't have anything to add. Thank you.
Hey, Mr. Barney, will you please come back up? And there's not a time limit this time. Bo, are you pulling up his presentation?
Do you want me to start right here?
Oh, that's not him.
No.
That's our homework. There we go.
My name is Eli. Slide, please. So the intent behind this, the ultimate end state is how can we help people basically return life back to normal, whatever that looks like. So I'll get into some more of the detail, but some of my specialty as a licensed professional counselor is trauma survivors. So I specifically work with veterans, first responders, trauma survivors, and then I've also worked with people in Green Mountain Falls, and then I have clients from all over Colorado that actually drive to Woodland Park to see me up everywhere from Breckenridge to Monument to Pueblo that come here. So quick history of psilocybin, just so everybody kind of has a background. It's been used for hundreds of years, mostly through indigenous rituals throughout Mesoamerica. In the 1950s, through Dr. Hoffman, it became really noticed a lot more, and he synthesized LSD, and then he didn't synthesize psilocybin, but essentially he went down to South America, was exposed to it, found the healing properties behind it, and then kind of grew it from there. In the 1960s, it became very popular. They began to do initial studies with it, and then they started to see a lot of progress. And then in the 1970s, they decided it was a Schedule I drug. The reason behind the Schedule I drug is the federal government at the time decided that there was no healing benefits from it. And so it got lumped into with marijuana, LSD, MDMA, and all those other Schedule I drugs to saying, hey, this is now illegal. Starting around the 1990s, it became decriminalized in certain research areas, specifically Johns Hopkins. And I will happily send the different research from Johns Hopkins to you guys directly after this to show the different research that they have found, because essentially they have found that it has helped with PTSD, depression, OCD, and anxiety. Slide, please. So, thanks. So quick description on the photo, just because picture's worth 1,000 words. So the picture on the far side on the left, that is your brain when it is on no medication, just kind of how we are all here today, unless you're on something that I don't know about. The one on the far right, that is your brain on Adderall. You can see that there's a little bit more yellow firing. There's a little bit more engagement of the brain, saying it's helping you stay more focused. Your brain in the middle, the red and the yellow, that is actually your brain on psilocybin. And what it is essentially when you use psilocybin, it activates the neurons in the brain to actually let those pathways and the neurons connect the way that they should be. Because the brain and the body, they want to heal. It wants to be healthy. And what psilocybin does, it actually helps facilitate that to let you return back to a healthy life. So it increases neural connectivity within the brain. It reduces the activity in the default mode network. Essentially what the default mode network is within the brain, that part of you that is, if any of you guys have ever been in counseling before, it's that hesitation when you're working with somebody of, okay, do I want to interact? Do I want to share this story? It helps remove that barrier so that you can actually process the trauma. It increases and enhances emotional regulation as well. So basically saying, hey, these are the emotions that I'm feeling. So often, especially if any of you guys have been in the military or been first responders, so often within our line of work, we're just told, shove that emotion down, get over it, move on, pick yourself up by your bootstraps and move forward. In a deployed setting, that's how I survived. I survived by just shove it down, move on, move forward. But unfortunately, when we get home, our families are the ones who suffer from that because we're not who we were when we left. And basically what psilocybin does is allows those neurons to connect so that we can get back to who we were before the trauma happened. And then finally, promotion of new neural pathways. And basically when depression it sits right here in the prefrontal cortex on the left side. Anxiety sits right here in the front of the prefrontal cortex. What happens when we have those diagnoses, essentially those neurons in the brain are no longer connecting like they should. So as you can see in that middle picture, that's the neurons in the brain that are reconnecting so that we're not carrying this depression. We're not carrying this anxiety like we have for so long. So slide, please. So the overall concept of the business plan that I would like to bring is it'd be a cultivation and a healing center. So as you guys are looking at these parameters, a cultivation center, basically it's where we would grow the mushrooms. The DORA requirements are very, in my opinion, a healthy restrictive. Like there needs to be double locks, there needs to be cameras, different things like that, just to make sure that there is that nobody's getting in there and messing with the medicine. We'll adhere to all Green Mountain Falls and state of Colorado rules and regulations. So some of those for these journeys and these experiences, unless I have a lot of acreage behind, or not acreage, it could be like an acre behind me of like open space, is I plan to do the journeys inside in a closed space. Because some of the rules that DORA has in place is that there needs to be, 6-foot fences around to make sure that nobody is, leaving the premises, which doesn't really happen. Just so you guys are aware, because when people go through a journey, essentially you're on a couch or on a bed, and you are processing the trauma. You're processing the trauma and going on the journey.
So just for clarification,
Yes.
when you're saying journeying, you're meaning psilocybin treatment.
Yes, thank you for clarifying. There's 2 different modes of psilocybin treatment that I would like to do. The first is the therapeutic dose. Therapeutic dose is about 0.5 to 1 grams. It's about this much psilocybin. So it's not very much at all. And it's a therapeutic dose. It would last around 2 to 3 hours. And I am with you during that entire process. And also part of the criteria, just so you guys are aware, is the rule is somebody has to bring you to treatment and somebody has to pick you up. Okay, there is no driving while you're on these substances. When you're on a therapeutic dose, there's no outward indication that you're on it. Like if you drink, your pupils dilate, you stumble, things like that. Nothing happens like that with 0.5 to 1 grams. It's simply the sky is bluer, the trees are greener, and it just brings down that initial barrier that a lot of people have when they're in therapy. What I've found actually with several of my clients that I've done this with already, some of them never need the actual journey that I'll discuss here in a minute. Sometimes they just need the psilocybin 0.5 to 1 gram every now and then to help them move forward. It's like condensing about 6 months of therapy into about 4 or 5 sessions. Then there's the actual journey that happens if we deem that it's appropriate for them. There's a whole list of criteria that I have to follow to make sure that it's safe. It's safe for the clients, it's safe for the community. And what the journey essentially looks like is it's called lemon teching. And all it is we take the mushrooms, depending on gender, body size, weight, everything like that. We take about 3 to about 6 grams. We crush it up. We cut up a lemon. We mix the lemon juice in it, because what that does is it helps prevent, some people get nauseous with mushrooms, and it helps prevent that nausea from happening. And then they will eat the lemon teching and sometimes a piece of chocolate, a little bit of fruit, because it just helps everything go down a little bit better. Takes about 20 minutes to hit. And at that point, they lay down and the journey begins. At that point, my job as a facilitator is I am just there for the journey. The medicine, so the mushrooms, and the client, they're the ones actually doing the work during this process. I'm the one just making sure that they are safe. In very rare, it's the study out of Britain showed it's about 1 out of 1,000 people will get up and like try to leave, but it's extremely rare. And I've never heard of it happening in the different healing centers that are currently happening here in Colorado. We do a lot of prep work ahead of time. We look for, okay, what do you want out of this experience? Are you hoping to heal anxiety? Are you hoping to heal your trauma from deployments, your time as a firefighter, your time as a policeman, whatever it is? And then they go through the journey. It's for about 1.5 hours. They are in the actual journey, which there's a lot of I can't see what's going on within their mind, but that's where they're having the visuals. I've had a friend who it sounds a little different, but he was a tree during the process. And part of that journey for him was just understand that he's connected to everybody else and that he can let that other pain go that for some reason he's been carrying on with him. After the journey is done, we do about another 2 hours of therapy, which during those 2 hours of therapy is grounding exercises. It's meditation. It might be some yoga. It's journaling. It's just processing the experience that they went through to see what the deeper meaning is behind it. During my own personal journey that I went through, a phrase I kept saying was that I'm not 12 anymore. And I kept saying it over and over and over. And what I found doing some additional research with my family and friends is that there was a traumatic event that happened at 12. And after this event, I'm suddenly not carrying that weight around with me anymore. My brain had shoved it to the side to force me to forget it. But my body was still carrying that pain with me. And that was like showing in other experiences. The goal with this is to make it accessible to everyone that would like it. Currently, insurance does not cover it. For the 1 hour long sessions, I'm able to use normal insurance, and it's legal there, as long as they're not using the psilocybin.
So basic counseling.
Basic counseling. My wife, who's much smarter than I am, she calls it therapy plus. Basically, some people need just therapy, which is great. Some people need that extra boost. And that's where the psilocybin can come in to help facilitate the healing. But we want to make it available to everyone that is an appropriate fit. So my plan is to have sliding scales and scholarships for this process. So if somebody comes in and they're like, hey, I really need this, and they can't financially handle it, we will find a way to make it happen. My goal through this process is help them to get to yes. Slide, please. So what does psilocybin actually help with healing? I put this slide specifically in here because especially with Prop 122, there's been a lot of false information that's gone out there. This last article I saw, a friend got it in a newspaper, and they tried to say that psilocybin heals everything. It does not. I wish it did. I wish there was a magic pill that just said, here you go. The main ones that we focus on is less anxiety and depression. I'm very grateful and very honored that I'm able to say this, but as of right now, every client that I've had that has used psilocybin with me, they are no longer on anxiety medication. They are no longer on depression medication. They did their journey. They maybe take the psilocybin in therapeutic dose maybe once a month, once every 2 months. But instead of a artificial substance going into their body, they're taking something natural and they're returning back to baseline. After my second deployment, I wasn't in a good headspace, and I took antidepressants for about a year. What I noticed during that time is I was numb to my 2 boys. I was numb to my wife. I was numb to my clients. And with the help of psilocybin, I was able to get off of it. And I am on no medications whatsoever at this point. It helps significantly with PTSD, OCD, and like I said, anxiety and depression. Those 2 pictures, it's another depiction of your brain that they have come up with. So the one on my right, the one with the less lines in it, that one is your brain on with no medication, no psilocybin. The one next to it with all the lines through it, that is your brain on psilocybin. Again, just showing all the different connections in the neurons of the brain that happen while you're on the medicine. Slide, please. So part of the criteria is I want to make sure that this is safe for the community, for the clients, myself. Like if I lost my license, that'd be very bad. But there's a lot of rigorous screening that happens prior to the first therapeutic dose. So I have to make sure that I am comfortable with the client. The client has to make sure that they are comfortable with me. If they don't feel comfortable, we don't do it. If there's any kind of animosity or anger or anything like that, we don't do it. If they got in a fight with their spouse the night before, we do not do the journey, because what happens is they bring in that anger into the journey and it ruins the setting. During one of my situations, I made a mistake and I called someone about 5 hours afterwards. I was trying to fix something. I was trying to fix some things with a contractor, And because I wasn't in a good headspace, I needed to hang up because I could feel myself not being in a good place. So we set very strict parameters on this is what you can do, this is what you can't do. I also work with several MDs and nurse practitioners that are trained in this field to make sure that the medication that you are on right now will not negatively affect you during the journey. And if it has, I have essentially it's a spreadsheet of this is the medication you can take, this is the medication you can't take. If they're on that medication, I recommend they work with their medication prescriber to either slowly wean down and completely off of it, or at least to a low level where that doctor is like, this is safe now. I believe in a group effort in this process. This cannot be me doing it alone. There are currently 2 diagnoses that we do not treat. If they are bipolar or schizophrenic, we do not do psilocybin treatment at all because it has been shown to have negative effects. Slide, please. So the end state, like I said, is to create a safe and calm environment where people are able to heal, where they're able to return back to baseline that they were before the trauma happened, whatever the trauma was. And the end goal as well is to support the people of Green Mountain Falls. My hope with you guys as we work together is to hopefully get to that yes as well, so that we can find a way to help people heal. Any of your questions?
Thank you for that. If you'll stay here stay at the podium while we ask any questions.
Hi, what was your first name again?
Eli,
Eli. Okay, not Aaron. I thought it was Aaron.
that's my brother's name.
Hi. So I understand that was a great little education, discussion that you gave us, but why? I'm kind of missing the bottom line. Of why you're teaching us about this here at the Planning Commission. Maybe I don't know the subtext.
Okay, so we need to make a recommendation or decision on an ordinance.
I understand that.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is just,
How is he affiliated?
he is a go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm a licensed professional counselor.
Got that. Yeah.
So like Caleb was saying, as you guys come up with the rules, this is where I'm just reinforcing that, looking at like timelines, for example. So as you guys are planning it, like what we're finding is like an 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. time.
Okay, no, I don't need that. Are you
He's a
planning to
possible business
practice you haven't said that. Are you planning to practice in Green Mountain Falls?
I'm so sorry.
I didn't get that part
I'm so sorry. I didn't.
because you said you practice in Woodland Park.
I do. I'm in Woodland Park right now. My hope is to be in Green Mountain Falls.
So you would like to have an office here?
I would, yes.
Okay, I didn't get that.
No,
Thank you.
I'm so sorry. Green Mountain Falls it's an ideal.
Did he say that
location.
and I missed it? Okay, sorry.
No, it's okay.
What other questions do y'all have?
Just kidding. Okay, so so you mentioned about the state regulations that you would adhere to all those. So just refresh us on, I saw there's 4 different licenses: cultivator, handler, owner, facilitator. Where are you at in that process? And like, what does that take? Like, can you give us an idea like time and dollars, like, and where you get that kind of certification?
Yes, so that's a great question. The first license I am getting is a facilitator license. So that takes 8 weeks and it costs $7,000. So I'm going through that process right now. I actually start on Monday. It'll be 2 months, 3 nights a week for me to become a facilitator.
And where is that?
So for me, it starts online and then I finish the training up in Denver.
Is
And-
that with Dora?
Yes,
Okay,
it has to be a DORA approved site. There are some
Dora
people,
approved.
yes, there are some,
Dora approved.
it
Okay.
has to be DORA approved because if it's not,
Okay. So they gave you some options and you figured that out. So you have not had a practice with this in Woodland Park. This will be new because you don't have a facility. Okay, got it.
yes, because right now.
Gotcha,
it's
this is all new.
decriminalized. So like I'm able to do work in people's homes, but not in an
Okay.
official location.
So okay, I see.
So that's the 8 weeks. And then it sounds like you want to do cultivation. Are you going to are you thinking stepwise? Or are you going to try and get all these licenses? I mean, not that I'm putting you on a spot, but I'm just
No.
curious, like what it takes to get to that point.
No, I love that you asked these questions. So my 50-meter target is the healing center, which costs about $10,000 to be set up. There, last I read, there was about 5 approved healing centers in Colorado and 2 cultivation centers. So I would like to get the healing center approved first. That one actually has the most rules through DORA that I have to set up. After that, hopefully in about a year, I would like to do a cultivation center. And the main reason is because one of the positive effects Colorado has done a very good job is regulating how they're implementing this. When Oregon approved this, they just went willy-nilly and just approved everything with no rules. As a cultivation center is inspected by the state, that's where I would grow the mushrooms. And I only need a space that's about as big as that table right there is all I would need to actually do that. They inspect it, they make sure it's safe for human consumption, and then I would use that medicine for the healing center. Because as of right now, a healing center has to purchase the mushrooms from a cultivation center. There's also a manufacturer, which I am not going to do. That's where you can make it into like gummies and chocolates and things like that. Again, my wife can attest, I'm a horrible cook. I am not going to be doing that. And then the last one is the handler. And the handler is essentially somebody who would take the medicine from a cultivation center to a healing center. So I would put in for that as well. It costs about $10,000 for me to be approved through DORA for the healing center. And it's about another $10,000 for the cultivation center. The handler fee is about $750.
Thank you.
Oh.
I think I got all your questions.
Do you have another?
I do have one. Yeah. So, and why Green Mountain Falls in the whole state of Colorado?
So one, I live in Woodland Park and I hate driving down the hill. Green Mountain Falls geographically is, and I'm sorry to use another military term, but essentially it's a great choke point for people within the community. There's Woodland Park, it's 25% of people are veterans there. I'm not sure of Green Mountain Falls, but I assume it's a pretty high percentage. But it's the main reason is because it's a place that's accessible for the people who have trauma in Colorado Springs and Woodland Park. It's a center point where they could funnel through to get the treatment that they need.
So it's really geographic, pretty much.
And I like the people.
Okay.
So you mentioned about someone has to drive you and pick you up. Now, is that your own personal feeling or is that actually part of the Colorado regulation?
That's mine.
That's you. Okay, I was just curious. And then let's see what other. Oh, so like what kind of throughput and space are you talking about in terms of like how big of a building do you envision? How many people go through at one time and like how much parking? Like I'm trying to get a sense of like the average footprint.
Yes. No, thank you. So I don't need that much space. I've looked at Painted Bear. It may not work just because they have a toilet there and but they have no running water. Or no, it's not running water. It's no sewage there. And I don't know if that would work for because again, I want the clients to feel comfortable and for me to renovate it wouldn't quite work. But I could make this work in about 800 square feet of an office space. For my normal therapy that I do, normal talk therapy, I see about 8 to 9 clients a week, or sorry, 8 to 9 clients a day. And, that would just be normal throughput for the journeys. I just do 1 journey a day. Mm-hmm. And the main reason is because that takes a lot of energy from me during that time. And what I find with clients, because some clients' journeys may last up to 8 hours with the processing. And I don't want to finish the journey and just say, it's 4:00, time to go. Like I want to be there with them through that process.
So this sounds like 4 parking spots sort of.
Yeah.
And you reminded me of something on the sewage. So I hate to say this, but we don't have any we're all septic here. Did you know that?
No, so septic's not a problem. The only reason is because Painted Bear, when I met with the realtor at Painted Bear, and I apologize, I don't remember what it's called, but the sewer goes in there and then I have to pump it.
Unfortunately,
okay,
that's a large portion of what's in Green Mountain Falls.
Okay, so that's something.
Expectation management.
No, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's just something I have to work in financially.
Well, But along those lines, though, I saw in a lot of these ordinances, they talk about proper disposal of byproducts. Like, what does that mean? How do you dispose of the byproducts?
So they haven't quite given us that guidance yet. If they run it like marijuana, what they did with marijuana is if the mushrooms go bad, I have to put them in a sealed container, and then somebody from the state will come inspect it, and then I have to get rid of it in accordance with their rules. But they have not given us that guidance yet.
Let me see if I-
So you've answered quite a few questions. I do have a few others. Well, let's see. So just for our understanding, when it comes to more of a cultivation center, what increase on the sewage and water systems that the town already has in place would that look like?
Good question. 0. Because the cultivation center, so I currently right now in Colorado, the law is for own personal use, you can cultivate in a 12-foot by 12-foot area. I currently grow mine in a 10-foot by 10-foot area in my attic. And I just have 3 totes. I grow them in there, and they don't take any, they take some distilled water that I spray in there, and that's it.
Okay. And would that increase the town's security requirements?
No, it actually has higher security requirements for my healing center over the cultivation center.
I mean, just in general, like with all of this, would there be an increased requirement for town security?
No, not that I've read or seen anywhere, at least. The interesting part with mushrooms is, so I'm an alcoholic. I've been sober for about 8 years now. I made a lot of bad choices while I was drinking. The part with mushrooms is that when people take it, for the most part, like they want to relax. You just feel more connected with nature. I have never read about somebody breaking into a mushroom, like cultivation center to get them because they were craving that high. Because after 24 hours, the psilocybin that's in your body is completely gone. There's nothing left in there.
Okay, and that brings up a different point. What is the requirement and or your plan for secure storage? Because it's not always, repeat clients that want to come in and get some fun drugs
Yes.
in their minds.
So all they've told us has to be behind a locked door and security cameras. Because of my safety requirements, I want to have this. I kind of want to treat this like how I treat my firearms. My firearms are between there's 2 locks between my firearms for safety, making sure like my sons can't get to them. They can respect the firearm, but in case anybody broke into my house, they have to get through. It's technically a Connex door, solid oak door, and then my gun safe. So I'd have a minimum of 2 locks behind that solid door, and then within a locked safe.
Okay.
Well, what would you do for the cultivation? Would that be some sort of, I don't know if you've thought that far ahead, but do you have to lock in the cultivation 10 by 10?
So for that it would be in a room with just a single locked door. The psilocybin doesn't go into effect until about the last week that the psilocybin is growing. Before that, it's kind of a normal mushroom. But to answer your question, I have not thought that far ahead, but I can add that onto my list.
Okay.
Another thing in all these ordinances is air filtration. Well, why is that in there? What's up with that?
I honestly
Weed.
don't know.
Honestly, I think it's a holdover from weed.
Yeah. When I read that, I thought that it was very interesting because there's no filtration that happens there.
I just have one last question. You mentioned earlier in your presentation that you would, or that it's best in your mind if it's a 12-hour, like 8 to 8 kind of period. Why is that? Because that seems like a long period for something that is, as you said, typically just a normal treatment.
It's to help the clients. It's helped to facilitate the clients as much as they can. So if they can get there at 8 o'clock in the morning, then that's then we're done by the journey by 12 or 1.
Mm-hmm.
But some people do better in the morning, some people do better in the evening. It's very much a user's preference, so it helps me cater to both kinds of clients.
And I know there is a mindset with some people of, mushrooms being used as a party drug. So what would be the response to, the evening coming in to just use it as an evening party drug?
For me, that's not the purpose behind this.
And how does the treatment avoid that misuse, I guess? The way Dora and your practice would be doing that.
So changing from a party drug to the actual journey, that's where the facilitator training comes in. So there's an actual step 1, 2, 3 that happens versus people just getting the mushrooms and hanging out, which some people do that, and that's great. But my goal is to work with people to help them heal, if that answers your question.
Mm-hmm. And you said that they would be completely done with their journey or, their exposure to the drug to the mushroom by the time they would be released back into the wild and to their designated driver?
Yes. So my end time would be about the last time I do a journey would be about 3:00. So if it's a Friday, they take 2 hours off of work, they come in, they see me at 3, we should be done by 8:00. I don't know if there's an option for an extenuating circumstance, like Napa closes at 8:00 at night, but there's always people in there sweeping the floors and cleaning until about 10:00. So I don't know if we can put in there to have a little leeway or if that's implied.
And
Yeah.
again, I'm asking a lot of this just so we understand and
Yeah,
have a better
yeah.
idea of kind of how this all works, because I think for a lot of us, it's new territory.
Oh, yes. And it's surreal, to be honest with you. 5 years ago, I never would have seen me doing something like this. As I said, I've been in the military, the rules are black and white. And then suddenly this opportunity came up. And when I returned back to normal using this, it's something I just wanted to share with others, but I've never thought in a million years I'd be doing something like this.
Commissioners, any other questions?
Just have a couple. I noticed that Woodland Park has a moratorium on licenses until May. Do you have any idea what's going on in Woodland Park?
So what I'm aware with Woodland Park is they are voting on April 17th. So I've been involved with the Planning Commission in Woodland Park as well. I can show you what their layout looks like, but on April 17th is when they will decide these parts of Woodland Park can be cultivation centers, these parts can be healing centers, and then all these other areas that are off limits. So basically it's right along the highway is the only place in Woodland Park where healing centers will be allowed.
That kind of brings me to my next question. You mentioned a couple times how important nature is during a journey. I wonder how do you deal with that if you have to remain indoors?
It's a good question. So ideally, I can find a place that accommodates both. If I can't, then I will start off with being indoors, just to kind of get things moving. But the long-term goal would be able to institute both.
And you said with outdoors, there's like a 6-foot fence requirement? Is that what I remember correctly?
Yes. So the rule that's in the door requirements of Emerald, it just says a fence. It doesn't give a height requirement. However, for privacy, I would prefer a 6-foot fence.
Okay.
Yeah, because the covered windows would
Yeah.
make it
Preclude
difficult to.
nature.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
So, when Colorado introduced recreational marijuana, they left it up to individual municipalities, the voters, to decide. What's the case with the mushrooms?
So Prop 122 was passed was it November or December? So when Prop 122 passed, it said if this is legal, municipalities have to allow it. However, municipalities have the ability to restrict locations and hours of operation. And like you could put different rules on there. So like the windows and different things like that.
So I personally think that's a mistake. Wishes were fishes, but I believe the state made a mistake when not treating the mushrooms like they did with marijuana, to leave it up to the individual municipalities. And so it's going to be up to us as commissioners to figure out how we're going to regulate this in our land use code, because the voters don't have a say
Right.
locally. And this, if there's anything that should be a local decision, I think it's just like the marijuana, it should be the mushrooms. And since it's not, the onus is on us as commissioners.
There will be a hearing though, so we'll hopefully get some input from the town people.
But if we're moving forward to discuss an ordinance, which is in our
True,
business.
yeah.
Well,
We're kind of going in without any voter input and just with our gut feel. I will say, I think your approach is very thoughtful.
Mhm.
Personally, I don't think it's a good fit for the community I live in. But if there was to be an establishment, I would want somebody as thoughtful as you, kind of directing things and doing that.
Thank you, and I appreciate that. And and I appreciate small government. Like that's you guys represent the community, and I think it is absolutely critical to have your feedback. Again, like that's where Oregon made the mistake, is the state told the municipalities what to do. I would hate that if they did that to me, saying this is exactly what you have to do. Oh, thank you. No, I did not. I am.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we're an advisory committee
Okay.
and yeah, quasi judicial. So,
Okay.
yeah.
any other questions for Mr. Varney? Thank you.
Thank you again
Thank
for
you
your
so
time.
much for your time and
Yep.
your diligence in putting this together and answering our questions. So what I would like to propose is that we have a discussion right now. We can do, they've put together a draft ordinance. We can do a preliminary look at it. And then what I would recommend is that we table the vote for next meeting, which is in 2 weeks, because that gives us a little bit more time to look into it, see what, actually, can you pull up? We've already got Prop 122. Again, the state is directing that this be allowed. That's not up for debate. And it doesn't come down to people's personal opinions, values, or anything like that. This is in law. This is what we have to do. And I do understand your point on that one. Can you pull up the chart that shows the different counties and towns and what they have? Did everybody get a chance to look at this? Okay, so the additional requirements, it looked like, are almost all the same. The hours of operation vary from 9 to 5 to 8 to 8 to 8 to 5. That part, yeah, and days of the week, whether it's Monday through Friday, allowed on the weekends, 7 days a week, et cetera. So those are things that we'll want to discuss, as well as the distance restrictions, specifically to, or especially I would like to point out to schools. I definitely see your point about the church being so close that it kind of precludes too much restriction on that side. And then again, for how close it is to residential dwellings. So let's go ahead and start the discussion, and then when y'all are ready, we can move on to the proposed ordinance and look at it and see what we want to go look back at, or see what needs to be, make some proposed changes now. But again, with the understanding, or again, my hope would be that we can table it, the vote for next time.
And another strategy is, it's a big ordinance and, Another strategy is everyone goes home and carefully reads it
Yes.
and gets their input, sends it to the secretary. I'll combine it all like I did our visions and put it in the packet. That's
Yeah.
I don't know how you guys feeling.
What would y'all like to do? No ego in this. What would y'all prefer?
I like what Shelley's suggesting. I
Okay.
don't feel like I've really had much time with this.
Okay. Well, while we have a subject matter expert, is there any other points of, or questions that y'all wanted to ask?
That's a good question. Ask that.
Yeah, where did the ordinance come from? Who wrote it? The ordinance that we're
The proposed
discussing, the
ordinance.
proposed ordinance.
Yeah, this came from, asked Jeff Parker to go ahead and write us up one with a few different requirements really to reflect other municipalities that have already written the ordinance, and especially that last part. If you guys go down to page 18 of the packet, and it'll be, excuse me, page 17 under Delta and Echo. That's primarily where you guys will do a lot of the restrictions. So locations, numeric, right, type of building, how many types of buildings or operations can be in the town. And then I'd also, go all the way down to Gall or to Foxtrot on that.
Is there any urgency here, Caleb? Or what is the timeline? Your
Yeah, that's
your
good.
preferred timeline has that?
I'm going to be pretty loose and say the end of the year.
Whoa, don't give us that much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's very loose.
No.
But it really just depends. You guys have got, a man here who would like to open up a business. And I understand that the stigma behind the psychedelics. Yeah, I can understand it. So I would understand wanting to haul that or stall that off. But I would also encourage us to find ways to, work with business owners as well. But that's solely on you guys and whatever you want to suggest to the board.
I would recommend a target. Again, I think we have plenty of time since we're meeting twice a month that we could do this by the next meeting in 2 weeks. However, no later than our next month's meeting.
So I'll send out a reminder to you all with your little homework package. Give me,
Okay.
your inputs. I'll combine them and send them out. No discussion on
Okay.
emails.
So, I do know Mr. Barney personally, so I am going to recuse myself when it comes time for the vote next time. However, I would like to speak towards this. Also I'm a veteran, and I've had a number of my friends and soldiers that have experienced PTSD, that have unfortunately committed suicide, that struggle daily with depression, anxiety, relational problems because of all this. And I know the VA and the veteran community at large is moving towards this direction because it's yet another thing, another tool in the toolkit that can help them fight these demons. And especially for something that is not addictive and that doesn't cause as many or it doesn't cause any side effects that I'm aware of. That's a huge leap forward in the care of veteran and first responder help. I mean, I know if it's really been beneficial for those that I know that have gone through this treatment to use it.
So I appreciate that, and I appreciate Eli sharing some of the journeys. We need to figure out if and how it fits into our town. Our town doesn't even have a regular clinic, let alone
It has to fit somewhere.
It doesn't, yeah, we don't have a
But-
choice about the if.
my point is, we don't have medical care as it is. So this is a big leap for this proposal. But I don't think regardless of if you think it works or if it doesn't work, our job is to figure out how it would fit into this community. So,
Agreed.
yeah.
Yep. So again, the restrictions, and this will be part of our homework. Is it 7 days a week? Is it is it Monday through Friday, which would preclude anybody that works during the week mostly? Is it, 8 to 8, 8 to 5, not, whatever permutation of that? Or is there a way we could write in regular business hours with an extension for 3 days? Well, yeah, for recovery or whatever you want to call it. Go ahead.
Also, in between this meeting and the next, if you guys have any questions on that, whatever zoning you'd like to maybe add, I can run it through by Jeff in time for that next meeting. So if you have some questions, let me know. I'll run it by Jeff and you'll have those answers.
Can you speak to the zoning, any suggestion or recommendation on the zoning piece right now? Just again, so it informs us while we're doing our homework.
Yeah, I'd say your best friend is going to look at what other towns have on that top sheet. I wanted to make sure that was in there just so you guys could have that
And
guidance.
would marry up with ours.
Yeah, if you go to Echo, or I might have switched some of them around. I think it's E.
Under the ordinance?
Yeah, under the ordinance, under
Okay.
numeric restrictions. I think you have to, I can confirm this with Jeff, but I'm pretty sure you have to allow for one type of facility each. So we're already very limited on that. Now, in reality, someone's not going to come here and be a manufacturer. They're going to go to Denver to be a manufacturer, right? Or Colorado Springs, whatever, metropolitan area there is. We don't have the room for it. Going up to, and again, your location on D, and then going all the way down to, I added one in there. I think it's H, going all the way down to H. You could consider outdoor use as well, especially if he's giving, you guys have got someone in here who's giving you suggestions of a closed fence, right? At 6 foot tall, at so many square feet, could also be something you can include in this ordinance if you wanted to allow for outside usage.
Is there any room? I mean, I'm new on this commission, so probably a stupid question, but is there any room for having like a base ordinance and then have like outdoor use be a temporary use or like depending on the person, like we think this person's diligent, can we do that?
I think you can. The state is pretty clear as far as how it can be used. So I think we can allow for special use permits to allow for certain people to have uses outdoors. But what I can do, I'll run that by Jeff. Never like to say anything in haste. So I'll run it by Jeff and ensure that that's the case.
Kind of like a progressive approval.
Yeah.
Well, special use, I think is like we have a base ordinance, but I mean, obviously Eli has a real plan and is not going to have like a party scene outside, but we don't know who we'll get, right?
If I could.
Mayor?
Town manager, if I could maybe help address this.
Please.
Permitted uses table, medical facility. It is a conditional use under basically what's called an MX1, which is basically our business. Its medical facility is currently blank in our R1 and R2, which means right now it's not allowed. But it could be allowed under the mixed zoning. So we may, if there's a facility going in
Thank you.
that's not under the MX-1 zone, it might have to be rezoned.
I guess what I'm saying is, I think we all are thinking it would be an MX1, right? Is anyone not thinking that? But I think what I was asking is of building an MX1 would be allowed by right under our code, but we could, the applicant could ask for a special use permit for outdoor use, and then that would have to be additionally approved. That's what I'm asking.
And so the parcel would be zoned MX1
Yes.
likely. And right now it's not a right, it's conditional. So it would have to come in front of the authorities to be approved.
See what you're saying. Sharon. I like that idea. Again,
I don't know if it's
it's
legal
a
or not.
step-
We'll let
step
Caleb.
process.
What do you mean? Could you clarify that? What is it? You mentioned it. I apologize for my own,
So we're talking about
knowledge.
MX1 as a
Yeah.
medical facility, and then that part's pretty easy, but then requiring a special use permit to allow for outside usage for this specifically.
So again, we zone a parcel. If the parcel itself is zoned for MX1, and we do have some parcels that actually are zoned MX1, by the way. So if we have a parcel zoned in MX1, then the whole parcel is MX1. Now, to allow for, under our current zoning, a medical facility, that's a conditional use that has to be brought before, I think, commission and board. I'd have to look at the thing for sure here real quick. But that requires separate approval. So it's
Understood.
a conditional, but that's the way our zoning is today.
I see. So you're saying regardless, if they want to open up this medical facility, it's already conditional. So you're saying that special use would be almost included in that application, correct?
The only thing that causes me pause on that is the, what'd you call it? The part about the growing. That's the only thing that causes me pause. Because right now obviously we don't have it specifically identified.
Got it. So what we can do is we can specify then in this ordinance exactly what you asked, Shelley, and the type of facility, what can be used outdoors. So if it is go to that right now. If it is a manufacturer or a testing facility, right, that obviously couldn't be outdoors. So we could specify that and just really say the cultivation and the healing center specifically for outdoor use. Yeah.
I think it's only the healing center that would be outdoor use, and even that is
Thank you.
by choice.
Just shows my ignorance on the matter. Thank you.
So yeah,
All right.
what I would maybe suggest is all of the proposed uses get passed by our legal counsel to make sure that to see if we need to adjust our permitted use table.
Okay.
That'd be what I would suggest. Right now, as long as it's medical facilities included, it's a conditional. But if there's any other use that might be included, and like I say, the one that gives me pause right now is the piece on the growing.
Mhm.
Is that included as part of the medical facility or not? We would want to make sure we'd identify all the potential uses, get that in front of Austin or Jeff, and basically see if we need to adjust the table in addition to the ordinance.
Any more questions?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, I would like to propose that we do, I'm sorry, Bo, did you have a comment?
I was just going to request a formal vote on tabling the ordinance. Thank you.
I would request or propose that we table the ordinance until the next meeting so that we can go back and do our homework as proposed by Shelley.
Second.
Motioned and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
I have a request that our discussion, I mean, I know there are minutes, but I would really love to see those questions written so that, we can at least make sure that we're all on the same page.
You mean I'm going to send you out like homework questions like we did last time?
The
What do you
things
mean?
that have just come up that are going to be asked of the attorney. I just want to make sure that those questions are,
Mhm.
are complete.
Understood.
Because I don't know.
Thank you, and I can.
Yeah,
with Bo and
that's
make
a
sure
good comment, Catherine. So, yeah. Because I feel like Brandy, I mean, I can write up everything, but I think Brandy's the person to coordinate with Caleb/lawyer, right? But that's a good point.
But
Don't leave it open-ended.
Yeah,
That's what
and
you're
and
saying,
a lot of
right?
things went back and forth
Yes.
and around. So I just want to make sure we're all on the same page.
Yep, I got it. I might need your help on capturing everything since you're taking the minutes.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the next item of business. Which will be our. Nope, actually, no. That was the last item of business. We're going to be moving on to correspondence.
I don't have any correspondence for tonight's meeting.
Now's where we get to the rest of the meat of it. Discussion items. All right, we're looking at the comprehensive plan. I know, again, we all did our homework for the visioning. And again, Rocco, thank you so much for putting all that together. That was really informative and helpful. Okay, so based on all of our inputs, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 suggested vision statements that we can pick from or cobble together from. I would like to get y'all's feedback and input on these,
Are you okay if I lead the discussion?
please.
Okay. So our first goal for an addendum to the 10-year comprehensive plan is to reconstruct the town vision. So I appreciate everybody's input and homework. I appreciate Shelley consolidating everything and Bo putting it up on the screen. So hopefully when you were looking at our current comprehensive plan and you saw that we had kind of 5 visions, I would argue that we really had no vision because it was kind of muddled. So part of the homework was to look at what we had and also look at some visions and some aspects from other communities and see if we wanted to blend or incorporate. The discussion tonight will inform when Shelley and I go to the different committees. So from here on May 14th, we'll give some homework to the PRT, get some feedback from them on May 14th, and then June 2nd to the Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee. And so this is just continuing to refine the process. It'll make our work easier if we continue to refine tonight and then present what we have to the other committees, knowing that more than likely they'll be changed, updated, and come back to us for more discussion. So this is just a way to facilitate discussion within the committees. I thought there were some great points in all the different parts of the visions that people produced. I think personally, there's some goodness in offering multiple visions to the other committees and have them rank order what they think works. So to that, we could just present what we had, or we can discuss tonight and refine before it goes to the other committees. So starting with the top one, that's something that I came up with just to blend the 5 that were in the existing comprehensive plan, and then add a little bit at the end from some of the wording from the other municipalities. So why don't we just look at that? Does anything jump out at anybody, or anything look good or bad before we move on with that one?
So Rocco, can I just clarify something? It's
Yeah.
not specific to our, the vision statements, but when I looked at all the other websites or my 2 websites, there were several parts to the vision, like 5 different things. It seemed like some of them had a bunch of different ideas and kind of confusing. And I know ours has we had multiple visions. So is the goal to just cone it down into one, correct?
So,
And then that part thing, yeah.
so the goal will be to reconstruct the town vision, and it can have however many parts and pieces. The the pro to using the existing one and maybe adding or amending to it, okay, but just coming up with like one, but piece it together out of the 5. The goodness with that is in the comprehensive plan from the vision comes these vision elements and then goals and policies and then the implementation status. So if we abandon what was started with the 5 competing visions, there may be a little bit lack of linkage down to what gets implemented. But looking at what Shelley put together for the table that has all the elements of the comprehensive plan, because we have that, I think it's okay to kind of go off script and kind of add or delete from the visions, which is why we did this. So from here, the committees will see the visions, we'll get to rank order them, we'll get to add to them, they'll come back to us, but then we'll have public engagement, which I would like to talk about tonight too, some ideas for public engagement in June to get the feedback from the public.
If I may, one suggestion and honestly an easy way to address that is, like Rocco was saying, renew our vision and make that the overarching umbrella. That's the end goal, big picture. And then those 5, what we currently have as visions, we can make as either goals or guiding principles, which I've seen, and you can call it guiding principles or something else, but they're basically sub bullets under the vision. So we're not abandoning what was workshopped and put together from the town input 5 years ago,
Right.
but it's not as, disparate. And
So does it need to include health and those 5 things in the vision statement?
not directly. I mean,
Okay.
as long as it all kind of ties in, but this is, again, the overarching vision. And then these are some of the other things we want to make sure that we're addressing with those specific like health and whatever. Again, that's just a suggestion so that we're not throwing out the baby with the bathwater. But we do
Well,
need to have it.
I don't know if we would be
vision.
throwing out the baby, but
I mean,
because
and
it's a
again,
different thing in my
that's-
mind.
That's only.
So you have a vision and then how you achieve the vision, but maybe I'm
Well,
wrong.
and again, that's where it would be called guiding principles as like, hey, these are some other things under the vision that we want to look at. But that's a suggestion.
The thing to look out for.
Oh, it's the one she made last.
Yeah, so I took all of the visions, goals and strategies, which were yet a different thing, and put them in a big table just to make it easy at future work sessions to run through and look at each of those goals and strategies against this vision that we can come up.
Do we have it?
No, we haven't really put it out yet, right?
It was at our last meeting, right?
I might have just shown it briefly at the last week, but we're not, but that's, when you go through our current comp plan and there's all the goals, it's just those organized in a way that we can annotate. Yeah.
just thought there was a
table That's fine.
supposed to have, and I don't have a table.
Was it in our packet?
No, because we didn't really want to focus that
Okay.
deep, because we wanted to focus on vision.
So tonight, the thing to look out for is if we adopt a vision and we get buy-in and everybody wants to go in this direction, but our comp plan is going in this direction, that's an obvious mismatch.
Mhm.
And so that's something that we'll have to calibrate for as we go.
Mhm.
So looking at the first vision, that incorporates the elements of the existing vision and then adds some things about sustainability, development, and resource planning at the end. And so that's where I was coming from with that, was just to boil down the 5 visions into kind of a long sentence. I know that we had some more focused visions from a couple of the folks, and that's awesome too. But this is kind of trying to be a catch-all and then add a little bit. And so the pros would be it links in with the existing vision elements that are already in the comprehensive plan. But one of the cons is it's kind of long.
Compared to what?
Compared to the other ones that are up there.
Oh, but it's not compared to the other towns.
Actually, I think the first, and again, before I knew who wrote any of them, I think the first one kind of covers the majority of the things that we're trying to address.
I guess I would just expand I like the first one actually, but even though it's a little long. I think we should generalize a little bit on the access to unmatched trail system. I mean, I feel like we're sort of pigeonholing ourselves in that's the only recreational outside thing we have there, right? I think it's more like,
Isn't it?
oh, come on, there's a pond and a gazebo and pretty scenery.
Which are along the trails.
To say nothing of the art.
Right, and the art, so I just thought we could like generalize that phrase a bit.
Okay, and what's your proposal?
Well, in mine, I put
What bullet up there is it?
recreational opportunities, breathtaking scenery, and I actually left the art out of mine. But I didn't, I mean, I don't know. I wasn't here for the first comp plan, but we didn't have a lot of the art aspect in the comp plan, did we? Like, there's no green, like,
There's a partnership with the foundation, but that's not technically the town.
I know structurally that's how it got accomplished, but did any goals come out specific to art?
No,
You know what I'm saying?
And I think,
because the foundation's separate. I'm sorry.
well, so when you look down, and I think Catherine pointed out the arts, and I think that was missed in the 2019 comprehensive plan, because Green Box has been going on for 15 years now. And we're starting to see more permanent art installations as well as the festival. And so I think that was missed, and I think that was a good key thing to address that you brought up. And just because there may not be any specific implementation things, that doesn't mean the PRT or whoever wouldn't come up with those. So I think that was kind of a blind spot, and I think that was a good catch to add that personally. And so I think, we could add art into any of them and it would make sense. And I think it has become more important in the community over the past 15 years specifically. So I think there's a place for it. And I was going to get to that when we get down to that vision statement. But I think it could apply adding it to any of them with future work to come up with some goals to implement. And working with the partners, whether it's Green Box or the,
So
whatever.
Lisa's elbowing me, that was hers. The
It's not Catherine.
values, recreation, the arts and sense of place. But
Well, I don't like it anymore.
So I keep going back to, we have some phrases that keep coming up, like small community charm, mountain community. Yes, with the art, so world-class art. I think unmatched trails, breathtaking scenery. I'm not quite sure how to meld all this into something cohesive.
But the thing is, we don't have to.
Yeah. I think this sort of gives them more choice. I mean, they can kind of cherry pick what they like out of any of the statements.
Mhm.
I would like to edit mine.
yeah, it would be fine to hear you.
Okay.
You know how it is, as soon as you see it in print somewhere else. Oh, yeah, I think there's too many ands in there. I would ditch the and go straight to world class.
Which one is yours?
I didn't see the art on it. Yeah.
The last one.
Last one. World-class art, yeah. So just take a thing. Okay.
So you both.
I think what the goal will be when we do the public engagement is we're going to have it pared down and sanity checked with all the committees, added, subtracted, melded. But I think we don't want to present more than 3 when we do the public engagement. And there'll probably be some mixing and matching at that point as well. But we have a chance to do that now, but it's not necessary. Catherine, you said that you wanted to edit yours. Great. And so what I would recommend is just send your edits to Shelley?
Well, I'm not editing much.
Just
Okay. Oh, so she could do it on the fly. That's right.
Oh, what are
Okay.
we doing? Take it.
Take out "and" in front of world class. That's literally it.
Um, I don't know whose statement it is. The Green Mountain Falls Vision,
That's the third
number
one.
2, or is that 3? Yeah.
Yeah.
three. Or the second one, because the first one,
No, 1, 2, 3. Are you talking about the really short one? Oh, I'm looking at these vision. That's on me. Yes.
The short one.
yeah, well, we were directed to use,
Oh, it needs to be an action verb.
more active
Mhm.
statement.
Will. So we're gonna edit that to will.
Yeah, and it just, I don't know. I think it just lacks, I don't know,
Okay.
just right,
Okay.
call it oomph.
So I like it because it's concise, but it does lack some specificity.
But I mean, it's certainly the sentiment is true, and I'm sure nobody would
Mm.
disagree with it.
But you're right, it does lack oomph. Technical term.
So if we go through and just look at, like, from each of
Mhm.
these, safe, high quality of life, neighbor helping neighbor. And then put those together, right? I didn't focus on condensing these. Charming, we got the charm again. And he's done managed trail system, so recreation. If we want to just glob those on,
Mhm.
Yeah, I deliberately left out charming.
Yeah, just take mine off, because I didn't focus on that. I looked at everybody else's.
Which one is that?
The fourth one.
The fourth one?
It was too focused, I guess.
Oh, I thought we were getting rid of the second one.
We are.
Okay,
You get rid of the fourth one too.
okay.
Well, are the elements from those that aren't encompassed in the other three?
I do too, actually.
I like that.
And mine, farm otherwise, recreation value, I like that word value. Value.
Yeah, that values, you're able to
Value,
add a
high
whole bunch
quality
after
life.
that, and it really opens it up without, yeah.
Values, and I like sense of place too, which is our history.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't list that as a,
Mm-hmm.
well, the history is here,
Yeah.
but sense of place could just be our history.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and
That describes it.
I've looked at the comp plan, what was it, the 2008,
Uh,
7,
Oh,
whatever. And it looks at it, it has a different history because it actually includes the Ute in the history.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if we're talking history, that's kind of a
We should
big,
do the current
a
one.
big
though.
question.
But if it's not in our current comp plan, I know what you're saying.
Adding historic in theirs,
But
that makes
that's-
sense.
And I bring that up because, I don't know that that's not going to be part of our future.
It's sort of like arts. Arts wasn't in this one either, so
Mhm.
take
Right.
things out.
It is, I think, I think you could definitely
Anyway.
draw a parallel there.
Well, but so I'm just gonna say one more thing, then I'll stop talking. So our for history, I think sense of place describes that. And for our health, value, high quality life, economic sustainability, safe community, and neighbor helping neighbor. And put that and so that's in some of those.
So I think we all agreed to drop the second one, but it sounds like there are things we like about the fourth one. That's what I'm hearing, right? So I think we should leave that one in there. I do like that one too.
And then when we go, if we have 4 and we go to the committees with it, they could be further refined, added, subtracted, melded. But I will not be here in person in 2 weeks for the meeting. Hopefully I'll be on Teams. But what we can do is maybe a little more work because that'll still be before the first time we go to the PRT group. So, I mean, this is more than I thought we would get done tonight. The big thing is getting familiar with the comprehensive plan that we have, and then looking at what some of the other communities have, and then going back into the historic documents, and seeing what those look like from our town as well.
And Rocco, if we're looking at the other ones, I don't want to get confused by what their values are and their vision is, but you mean how they went about executing it? Is that what we use the other ones for?
So yeah, it was
So
to
many
give you,
compliments.
it was to give you exposure to some other deliverables that some other towns had.
Right?
There's an interesting one up on the DOLA site, and it was kind of a homemade one by the town. And I forget, do you remember which town it was? They didn't hire a contractor. It was all planning commission and community engagement, and it answered the mail. And it was a whole lot less expensive than what the town.
Right,
Town.
right, but so that's more, you look at the other ones to just to use as examples for the mechanics. We don't want to take their vision.
If there's things that jump out to you because.
Yeah,
you
but if
think
they're
there's
not in our comp
parallels.
plan.
But you know what, if there's parallels, if it's a similar size community, or you see something that jumped out at you, like the arts, like, hey, we have arts. That's all good, and that can all be incorporated into our draft.
I don't know if this, speaks to anybody else, but as I was doing this, I kept thinking, who's the audience? Who's the audience? Who's the audience? And, who is the audience for the comp plan? And, the obvious is, the committees. But, I think it's more than that. It's also, things like, it's great for grant proposals, and I think having a strong vision statement really helps. Whether it's creating grants or, creating your next project or figuring out how to prioritize. And as I was looking at the other town websites, I was also thinking, if it's a place that somebody could go if they're interested in investing in the place. And, do they know what they want? Do they, is this a place I would want to invest? Is this a place I would want to bring my family? Is this, those kinds of things are kind of what I started thinking about. I mean, certainly correct me if I'm going down the wrong path here, but that's what it got me thinking about.
Absolutely. I mean, the vision is aspirational. Like what do you love about your neighborhood, about your street? What do you love? And then just to keep exporting for our town. What made you want to move here? And so that's one aspect of it. I don't think that our town has a mission statement, and that's not for planning commission to come up with, but I think, you take a vision and then a lot of times it could be boiled down to a mission. And then I think that could be more focused.
I misspoke. I meant the vision statement if I said mission.
No, I'm saying we don't have a mission statement that I know of. But that could further refine the vision and kind of where the rubber meets the road. And, when you look in the comprehensive plan and you look at the goals and you look at the implementation, we do have some very concrete, measurable, in some cases achievable things. And we'll look at that later in the exercise, later this summer in July, to look at where progress has been made and what things maybe don't need to be there anymore. And that'll inform in 5 years, 4 years, when the comprehensive plan needs to be redone. We're not starting from a 10-year baseline. We're starting from a 5-year.
Or what we need to add.
Right.
Yeah. So what specifically do we want to get accomplished on the 22nd? As far as visioning or getting ready to get a PRT and FMAC, like I'm just looking for what artifacts we need for the meeting in 2 weeks.
Yeah, well, specific to this, I think there will be some homework coming out of it just to look again. at what we discussed tonight, and if we had any recommendations, the sense of place, the neighbor helping neighbor, the arts, where do those fit in? Can those be added into some of the other visions? Or does it need to be something standalone? Because when it goes to the committees, I'm sure that some of these things will kind of be meshed together.
I would suggest that that we all take what we have right now and again, come back with your revised vision statement. And then one of the things that, at least for me, because I'm visual, is, the little word bubble of, hey, these are the phrases that we keep seeing, that we keep or that we really all agree on, that we like, that should be in here somewhere. And we can kind of massage it and, kind of throw that to the committees too for consideration. Hey, these are popular phrases or phrases that came out of the comp plan that we want to make sure that we're sprinkling in or for consideration, essentially.
So I'll get revised statements from
Mhm.
all of you and do a word bubble.
Well,
I'll do a word bubble.
and then when you send out this second piece of homework to us, could you also share that table that you were talking about?
Sure.
Just again, so we have that as a resource if it's
Mhm.
useful work, and I would love to see it.
And so the table is nothing new. It's Shelley just derived it, took it all out of the existing comprehensive plan. It is nice that it's condensed into one, but it's still like 15 pages?
No, I don't think it's quite that long, but
Pretty long.
it's pretty long. But what is useful about it is we can keep adding columns to the right and as we discuss things and don't get real hung up on the column headers. I mean, we took a crack at it, but obviously that's all
Okay.
changeable.
Well, we do still have 2 other points of discussion. So is there anything else that you wanted to bring up for this piece, Robin?
No, this is good, and I appreciate your extra work in making this go smoothly.
Okay. So now we are moving on to the fee schedule. And again, this is for our knowledge, and then if we have any recommendations to the Board of Trustees for changes.
Sure thing. Yeah, on May 6th, this will be going back to the board for final approval. Their input from the last meetings is included. Staff input is in here. So yeah, anything that we can present from you guys is welcomed, and that can be a memo about the land use part of this or whatever. But I would recommend just focusing on that part. Being the planning commission, I'm going to scroll down here. Got planning, land use, and zoning and architectural review. So the minor site plan currently is 125. So that's just going up a little bit. Sign, fence, retaining wall, deck are all included in that minor site plan. And then change in use is going up. It's a little bit more, it's just a heavier lift there. This is a big change, $1.20 per building square foot. Right now, that fee is a flat $750. So Caleb and I sat down with our itemized bills from baseline and looked at how much time and expense went into these various categories. And like even these fees going way up is just not even close to covering the town's costs. Ostensibly, we will be incurring less costs doing it in-house, right? I think we all agree that baseline was on the steep side. So that's the debate. Are we really trying to cover costs? By no means are we in danger of profiteering here, even at these elevated rates.
So Todd, I thought could you recap what you said at the Board of Trustees meeting for the commissioners who weren't at the Board of Trustees? I think you were saying like the minor site plan, that some of those are just super easy. They don't take any time. And you were trying to address I guess, should we be charging that much for a fence?
Yeah,
Can you talk to
actually,
that?
okay, so yeah, I did say that, the minor site plan things that didn't have anything really what I call weird. with them, no, where they didn't have their property wasn't going over the line or property wasn't going into the right of way. If everything's straightforward, they tend to go very quickly.
How do you know, though, if it's going into the right of way?
Through the site plans.
And
They give us a drawing, basically says, here's where everything's going to be. And if it's close to the right of way, we typically have been asking for them to go find the pin locations. And let me correct that. If it's close to a right of way or property line setback is what I'm talking about. So if you got someone wants to put a shed currently, and it's right on the 5-foot setback, we need to know where those pins are so we can go basically string a long line and make sure they're within the setback.
so what happened on Hotel Street?
Hmm?
What happened on Hotel Street with the driveway on Hotel
Nothing yet.
Street? What's that?
Nothing yet.
No, I mean, but they built a driveway into the right of way.
I can't comment on that. That was done well before I started. I've asked for evidence of it. I have not received it. But does it exist? I don't know.
Well,
There's no record of a permit being
There's no-
issued for that.
We do not have a record of a permit.
Okay.
So
But that doesn't mean there wasn't one.
I guess what I'm asking here is there, can we think of these numbers as maximum costs and that staff can waive the fee if they feel that's
We-
appropriate?
They typically do not waive the fee. So basically, if someone comes in and wants to do, say, a sign, fence, retaining wall, or deck, okay, I'd like to clarify on this. It's not a minor site plan review plus $150 because it just didn't make a lot of sense to have someone come in and they're replacing boards on the deck, but they're over 50%, which means that it requires a minor site plan. Okay, so we're going to charge them how much for just replacing boards with Trex?
Also, when those comments were made, when that exchange happened with the Board of Trustees, I had projected a previous draft of this where those fees were $400. So I think the mayor's comments were an objection to my recommended much higher rate. So this has been, again, reduced back to the outcome of that discussion.
Okay.
But it does need to be clarified. And right now, it almost looks like these are independent. I think, at least in my mind, a minor site plan review that it includes anything but the change in use. That's one that we really haven't dealt with a lot.
Yeah, that would need to be clarified because that's not.
And we may need a little bit more funding for the change in use. But anything like signs, fences, retaining walls, decks, like say, I mean, there's one on here that's already been approved and the site plan came in and it was obvious because it lined up with the house.
Okay, so
So-
I have a question on the sign though, because that could be anything from a little do not park here sign to something large. So if you're going to have something like a little bitty sign, should they really be paying $150 for something like that?
Sure. The code reference on the left-hand most column, in that part of the code, there's like, square inch dimensions and stuff like
Okay.
that, where it elaborates and kind of speaks to that in the code.
Okay, because
So-
the way this reads right now is just if you're requesting to put up a sign.
Yeah, no, there's certain exclusions, like realtor signs, for example, are in the code excluded and stuff like that. So,
What about the do not parking sign, since we all have problems with that with the hikers that come in? Having been one myself at one point.
yeah, town signs are excluded.
About the homeowner signs, because is town going to start putting up do not park signs on homeowners' properties?
So it's funny you're talking about this right now. So Public Works, it is high on their priority list this spring to address signage. Park Rec and Trails took action on that some time ago and it's been on their list. So that's, I heard that getting talked about and I'm not sure where, but yeah, that is going to happen shortly.
So,
But I think you're saying that if Brandy wanted to put up a no parking sign, she can do that because it's under.
You can
the
do
certain
that
number
under
of
the,
inches.
under section 12-45. But it's almost like, okay, it's just, hey, please don't park on my property. As far as the town being able to enforce on some of our signs, if we say no parking and we have them in the right of way and people are parking in the right of way, they have to actually reference a section of code in order for it to stick.
That clarifies it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so the one I'm seeing that's the most expensive is 12-57A. And can you talk lower, the 2,000 and 1,500? Can you talk about why those are so expensive compared to everything else? I know there's a reason. We don't.
Yeah, that's very involved. Rezoning to planned use development, you're basically recreating an entire zone based upon whatever the applicant's wanting. And yeah, they get involved. In fact, that might even be a little low.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. How was that arrived at?
Did you have a sample?
Caleb looked into some of this stuff more extensively, and that this has gone back and forth so much. I think this initially came before the board, like in December, kind of the end of 24. So this is like the fourth or fifth draft. And I would have to look back at notes to see if that was, board feedback or the town manager. It might have even been Becky predating Caleb. So, and I'd also want to check to see what our current fee schedule has, because some of these aren't changed. So like not everything here has been changed, and it might be that that's what the current expense is also.
yeah, so speaking on that a bit, those are pretty high because attorney is going to be included in that, and attorneys are expensive. So that's why it's pretty high. So
Oh, I'm actually wondering if it's high enough.
yeah, well, you got to ask yourself, we're here to serve. So I agree, it could be higher, but we don't want to. We don't want to make a fee too high to where someone who wants to have a plan and unit development is going to look at that and be like, I give it up. I'm
Right.
just not going to do it at all.
So it's comparable to other towns.
Yeah, I think it's very reasonable. Yeah.
Yeah, the other option would be for a pass-through. And again, but pass-throughs when people come in, they say, well, how much is it going to be? When we say, well, it's going to be a pass-through.
Yeah.
And you have no idea what the pass-through is going to
That's
be.
what we ended up with.
I'm satisfied if it's comparable to other towns.
Bo, we're just wondering, Rock, on the date on the bottom, was that supposed to be 2024?
No, I'm projecting that this will be approved at that
Okay.
next board meeting.
Just wondering.
No, that's actually a good thing. A major change on this is historically, like the current fee schedule that we're using says 2024 Green Mountain Falls fee schedule at the top. And I talked to the board about removing that so that it doesn't expire. Like if no one feels like there should be changes, because right now it's weird. We're still using that because it was the last approved fee schedule, but it's definitely not 2024. So
As updated.
just the footer, yeah, so we can keep track of which version we're working on.
It's not approved, I would-
So
Something.
yeah,
Same thing
draft.
as in our packet, just again,
Yeah.
apples and oranges, but
I mean, I could compare them, but I'll take your word for it that there haven't been a lot of changes from the 24.
No, there's been some. We definitely went through it. Like there's a bunch of pages that are omitted higher up. Like we're referencing this right here. This used to be a few pages of fee schedule, and the town marshal replaced all those MTC referenced items with just like we can enforce anything in the model traffic code. So it actually increases his ability to write citations on the road while reducing the number of pages on our fee schedule. So.
going back to the, just making sure that we're tracking what's proposed or pending approval and whatnot. When you put the proposed ordinances in there, would you put proposed or something, so it doesn't look like it's already official?
We can, a watermark draft
Yeah.
works really well. And we used to do that at some point. I just quit doing it, but that's good. And that should come back.
Just something, because I'm looking at.
Well, yeah, and I worry about like the general public, grabbing it and saying, hey, look, it's
Yeah, if you have the draft,
approved.
then
Look,
that's
right?
even better. Yeah, okay, but do y'all have any recommendations or questions on any of the other fee schedules we're seeing here?
I mean, I think our only thing we can comment on is zoning and, right? I mean, we can't,
Right.
right?
Well, I think your comments are always welcome, but yeah, that's most of the.
Well, I have
Review
a,
of
I have
the
a
PC.
comment. I was here at the last meeting when the board announced all this, and under the special event fee, it says 200 an hour, 1,000 a day. And then we were discussing when you guys were discussing when the day was, how about just 200 an hour, period?
I think that was on there in 2023, and we ran into a couple of applicants requested, they were like, that's way too high. Can we just do it for $1,000? And the board actually approved that rate, and so we tried to kind of incorporate that into
Okay.
this one. So
I just,
and I
that was
did-
my suggestion.
yeah, and I'm happy to pass that along. Some feedback that I got from Public Works that isn't on here was actually increasing this to 400 an hour, and potentially even just having 2 time slots for the gazebo, like a morning and an afternoon time slot. We increased this at some point under my watch from 100 to 200, and we were worried that it was too high. No one's flinched. It's still, I think, very competitive compared to other venues. So,
So 200's competitive.
well, or maybe we can split that, difference or bump that up a little bit. But another option is to keep it at 200 an hour and just have, 4-hour slots. So it would be basically an $800, half day usage with an hour buffer zone. Because building in that buffer zone is one of the issues. Like people are tending to go over, they're underbooking the time. So there's, a couple of components to that desire to make it up just a morning and afternoon.
You could
shift.
have a penalty fee if they don't get out on time, and that would be appropriate.
That was
Yeah.
also suggested. Yeah.
Brandy, is there any advice memo or anything we need to write, or are we kind of no action here?
I mean, I'm not hearing any recommendations from y'all so far. Does anybody have a recommendation that we would like to put before the board for any changes to this?
Well, Lisa just said it's a count.
I'm sorry, okay, so I'm sorry. Yes. What's the phrasing that we want to use?
Well, 200 an hour, rather, just an idea. Doesn't have to be super formal, Bo, you could take that back. I mean, that's just an idea.
Sure. Yeah. So just getting rid of that $1,000 per day
Yeah, and 200 an hour, and then
and just
and
doing
then,
about 200 hours.
right, and then for your time slots for the mechanics of, I mean, I don't know about that. But it sounds like and if somebody wanted to do the morning, afternoon, they could do it, and then they have the whole day.
Okay.
So I think that would be good. And I think, yeah, we shouldn't undersell us. I mean, it's a pretty sweet little deal
Okay.
being at the gazebo. I got married there. I wish I could remember what I paid. I don't know. We rented 10 cabins. I don't know what any of that cost, but we paid for all of it.
So-
1995.
I have zero problem with Bo passing that comment back to BOT, but I feel like it's not a planning commission thing. So there's no advice memo.
I agree
but
with you.
Right. Okay. Just
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's just from me as a person.
No, I appreciate that. And just for clarity too, that's changed the facilities rental. And so that's also the pool and town hall. And and maybe breaking those up makes some sense. Like should renting town hall be at the same rate as renting the gazebo? I don't know, probably not, so that's a good discussion to carry forward.
And is the farm stand government or town property? No? Okay, got it.
And the pool, yeah, I can see where, and I appreciate Public Works throwing in their 2 cents because I'm sure they know, the amount of work.
The pool's a major,
Yeah.
there's a lot more labor to maintaining that. So-
Again, these are suggestions because you're right that they're not
They're not recommended.
within our purview. Yes, comments. Okay. Moving on to the GMF project list. Caleb, is that going to be you or Bo that's going to be walking us through that? Or, oh, I'm sorry, that's going to be the mayor. Stand-in player or planner.
Okay, so this is what you have is basically the open items on our tracker. Several of these are going to drop off once we get confirmation back that things are basically recorded in El Paso County. Obviously, the one that's going to be coming up is in a couple weeks is the 10845 on Myrtle Street, the attached garage. That's the one that's going to be coming to you here in a couple weeks. It's posted. Interesting to note, the 10730 and 10740 Florence Avenue, those are two brand new homes. As such, the code says that new development has to comply with the WUI, International WUI codes. That is in and of itself probably going to be a whole compliance matrix. And so the plan is the applicant's going to bring in the actual WUI code,
What is WUI?
Wildland Urban Interface.
Thank you.
And we're going to sit down and they're going to go through exactly how they believe they comply with each section. We'll try to get that documented, but that'll be basically a first for everybody, is full compliance with that, since it is quote unquote new development. We haven't really been requiring that on modifications because it doesn't make a lot of sense to have a home that's not WUI compliant and maybe a new addition that is. Yeah. So yeah, that'll be an interesting piece on that one. I will tell you that as soon as they do that and show compliance with sensitive lands, that one will be ready to be posted. Ones that you don't have closed.
Pending to PC on 4/22. So
Okay,
is that
the-
a projected date?
No, the one that is projected to go to PC on 4/22 is the attached garage addition at 10845 Myrtle Street.
Okay.
Yep.
So the posting, Bo, you mentioned, does the clerk do that now or? He's, okay,
Yeah, we can talk about, the best division of
Okay.
labor there or whatever. But that has been done and it was done on time to be on track for April 22nd.
Okay. And I'm sorry then, which one were you speaking of? Because I must have gotten confused.
Okay, I brought in the ones on the two houses on Florence. There's two brand new houses on Florence.
Gotcha.
There's no house, but no, there's been an
Oh,
application
the
made.
very last one. Okay.
Application made,
Next
fees
to
have been
last one.
paid.
Okay. Okay, so when it says pending, it doesn't say who it's waiting for.
You should see if there's any status update, like for say, okay, on Florence Avenue, applications have been received, major site plans. I probably need to put in there that we're still waiting on compliance. We have not received
Okay,
we have not received enough information to determine full compliance yet
and that's from the home or the.
from the applicant. Yeah.
Okay, that's.
Yep.
That's what that would make sense, because that's where we're always looking is you know, who's it with
Uh-huh.
at the moment? That's, you know, who's holding it up essentially.
Yeah,
Making sure
right now
it's
it's
all-
applicant.
Okay.
You did not get the completed page. I think the only two is obviously the 7335, which you approved at your last BC meeting.
Mhm.
Do we have that? No, we don't. Okay. 7335 Myrtle, you approved that at your last BC meeting. And then 10290 Pass Avenue for a deck. And that deck was very straightforward.
Okay.
Do you have that as a second tab?
Yeah. Yeah, it's down at the, okay, no problem.
Could we possibly number these so we can refer to them as item number 1, 2, or 3, just so we're not
Yeah, no
running
problem.
back? Just, I'm a little dyslexic and it's really easy for me to get very confused on these when we're talking about those. And this is a lot of information. It's
Mhm.
really useful, but that would help when we're discussing which one we're talking
Yeah.
about.
Now, just FYI, if we attach a number to a project, that number will go with the project. And you'll have a sheet that goes number 3, 8, 10, 12, but it can have a number on it.
Or just, you know, hey, it's
You know, I think,
cell or column number.
yeah, I
whatever,
think
it
we
doesn't
can
have to-
print this with the row numbers in there off the
Yeah,
spreadsheet.
just row numbers. Yeah.
I
just
can
row
figure out
number?
how to do
Yeah,
that.
if you just.
Yeah,
wrote
if you
the row
just want a
numbers,
row number,
Yeah.
simple.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just something that we can refer against. That,
Okay.
that's it. It doesn't have to be
Yeah,
a number
that's
that we
simple.
use in perpetuity.
Yeah, okay,
Just what one are you talking about?
okay. Yeah, no problem. Do you have any questions?
Thank you
Yep.
for doing this and thanks for the red.
Yep.
So I do have a question on 10385 U pass, project status on hold. Bought approved the ordinance, but it still requires a foundation for ADUs. What is the foundation for ADUs that's still pending? Just,
Okay, so what you all recommended and what was approved, any ADU would have to be set on a foundation. And so right now, again, that's one that would be in the hands of the applicant. What do you want to do?
so like concrete. Okay,
Yeah.
that now I understand.
Yep.
And again, that's back with the owner.
Yep. I need to add I need to change that staff responsible, change staff responsible to responsible party.
That'll
Yeah.
help. Yes.
Yeah. Just change staff responsible because we're no longer using baseline. Now
Mhm.
we could just use staff responsible party.
And again, just who's it with, who's it
Yep.
gone back to? Thank you. That's the only question I had. Did anybody else have any questions on this? And some of this might have already been covered at the last meeting, but I'm.
And I'm really hoping, it'll be interesting to see how you like the compliance, what I call compliance checklist. You could call it a compliance matrix if you want. I'll be really interested to see how you like that because that could be a handy tool for whoever comes in and ends up doing this for real.
You mean that actually gets paid for it?
So one question, I guess, in your capacity helping out as the planner, are there any potential conflicts when you're sitting as a member of the trustees?
I will have to recuse. It's just, yeah. But so few of these come to the board. It's like, okay, if I was sitting in your shoes, it'd be more of an issue. But where I'm at with my position, very few of them come to the board, so it actually works okay.
All right, that completes our discussion items. Does anyone else have any further comments?
I have an announcement. Could you make everybody aware, since Planning Commission's been so involved in the guardrail, about what's happening, or our town manager next week? There's on the 15th.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna pawn this off on Caleb. Can you give us an update with that meeting between Public Works?
I mean, and you know what? Do we post this kind of thing on Facebook political?
It
We
can
just-
be.
how do we get the
Normally, we
word
just
out?
post it online on the town website. That's our official
I
posting.
know.
But
who-
it can be,
I don't look at the website every day. I don't
yeah,
know.
it can be added. It's-
Frequently I do, but.
I mean, a lot of times we have an individual in town who's adding them anyway. So
Well,
it's-
I mean, there's some movement on the guardrail, and so I'm going to do my part to notify the neighbors in that area that have been so upset about this. But I mean, this may come and go next week and they won't even know.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. We're going to be meeting October 15th at 6 p.m.
Oh, April.
Oh, gee, why did October come on my mind? We're going to push it off to the winter. That's what makes most sense. Well, we don't want to push it off any further.
Sorry. Yeah, we're gonna have it this month, the 15th at 6, and a few things that are gonna be happening pretty much at that rail is going to be going. Some of it might stay on the bottom end. The work will get done before the Green Box Festival as well. So those are the two updates I can get you. The rest of what we will be talking about will be reserved for then.
As a suggestion, I know oftentimes Anesh will post that kind of information on the Green Mountain Falls politics page, which has a little bit more reach than our website. I mean, realistically.
It's bad at social media, but yeah, I agree.
And for good reason. I mean.
That's right. I'll let Anesh know. Thank you.
I'm not sure. I don't actually use. I don't know about that either. But I did do my best for it. I used the alert banner, and try to kind of showcase stuff that's, hot button items. So.
It's not a dig.
Um,
I would encourage some of our residents to take the ball with it on
Okay,
Facebook,
okay.
like.
We could also reach out to Carolyn and like.
do we have a communications policy for the town?
I'm hesitating because I've written like 2 of them in years past. I'm going to have to look.
Okay, I guess my suggestion is maybe look at those to inform your actions.
Good way of putting it. Yeah. Okay. All right, our next meeting is April 22nd at 16:30, and I look forward to seeing you all then with our all of us having our homework done. 18:30, so 6:30 p.m. No. It's late.
Did you say you're not gonna be in attendance, Michael?
I'm not physically going to be here. If I can get Teams to work, then.
Okay, that's.
Okay, well, we look forward to you dialing in. Okay, that is all we have. It is now what? 8:33, and we are adjourning.